In this episode, I get to talk to one of my favorite YouTubers of all time, Noir Et Blanc Vie. He has a synth YouTube channel, so we spend a lot of time talking about what it means to be a music YouTuber. We talk about switching up your content over time so you don't get bored, the kind of sponsorships and review type of videos, how to deal with like the money side of YouTube. And we also go over his income diversification strategy for the music side of what he does. And we also just talk about synths because that's what he's into and that's what I'm into, so we had a lot in common. But anyways, I know this episode's very long, but I hope you'll enjoy it.
I made money doing like a bunch of different things in music before, but then definitely have made more money since becoming a YouTuber, which is strange in my mind.
Yeah. Well, and I think, I don't know if it was Bo Beats or someone talked about how that there's more views you can get from talking about music gear than talking about music or doing music. And that's totally, well, I've noticed it's true. Like when I was making, I did a lot of like synth reviews and software synth reviews last year, and that got way more views than music production tutorials. And now like the music marketing content, music business content for me is doing by far better than anything I've ever done. But it's like, no matter what it is, if you're talking about like just music, it doesn't pull people in as much as talking about the things you need to like do music.
Yeah, I watched your video. I really liked it. I don't think I retweeted it because I'm a dick, but I remember watching it and being like, this is great. I believe it was the video where you did, you talked about Facebook marketing and how you were, you had like run a campaign for like a certain amount and like the amount of like impressions that you got. And I was really like, man, this is great. Like, this is really like useful for people who are not thinking of this in like a business sense. People who are just like, oh, hopefully if people find it, like this is like real, like, you know, putting out like concise information about like, here's how you can market something using this tool, which everyone can use, and how much money I put into it, and then how many, like, you know, this is great. I like that video a lot. Because then I thought, I was like, man, this would be great. Like, this is like a great service. Like, that's what I thought the whole time. Like, I was like, man, like musicians like need like a service like this where like they're getting, because like I'm not like saying anything about DistroKid or these kind of sites, but these just place your music, right? You need also the push to get the eyeball, the ears, I guess, the eyeballs, the ears.
No, it's so true. Like a lot of musicians have this perspective that good music should sell itself, and unfortunately, we just don't live in that world. Like if you don't get it in front of people, they're just never going to hear it. And it doesn't just apply to music. Like it's true about like products. It's true about any service you have. Like in the work you do, like I don't know if you do freelance or if you're working for someone, but in either case, someone had to do some kind of push to get that first customer. It's not like they just come to you. Some will come to you, but that's not how you build a long-term business usually.
No, you got to go out and get it. And you got to also be good to your recurring people.
Right.
It's a weird thing. And I feel like that just applies to like everything. Like, you know, are we live right now?
Oh yeah, we're live.
Oh,
yeah.
All right. Well, now we'll watch what I say.
I don't like. I don't. I mean, you're pretty clean, dude. You don't swear very much, but like, feel free to speak your mind. I'm not like a kids channel or anything, so.
Okay, this video is not for kids. Good. Yeah. I just feel like it's so true in everything. Like even in the world of YouTube or whatever. Like you can't just put out a video for yourself and expect it to do well and then be mad when it doesn't. Like there's literally videos where I sit around and say like, I wanted to make this video. Like I think I did the Felix the House Cat video a couple weeks ago. And I was like, it was doing like terrible. Like YouTube, you know how it goes. It tells you how terrible you're doing. and I was automatically just like, well, yeah, of course it's going to be. Like I'm talking about music in a very personal sense with someone who I like. You know, this is a video that I'm just doing. I'm not trying to market it to anyone. I'm just putting it out there as a history of something I did. And I know like if I wanted to get views, you literally know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
I was talking to Simon, the Magpie.
Oh yeah.
We played Minecraft and stuff, and
that
Simon
dude
blew up off.
That dude's hilarious. His channel.
No, I love Simon. You know, he had an interesting start, but he blew up after the whole like toy cat video synth thing. It got like front page of Reddit or something, and so like he went from like, I swear, it went from like 15,000 to like 100,000, like that, right? And just after talking to him, we kind of had the same reflection on the YouTube thing, and it's just like, oh, if we want to do like views, exactly what to do. Like at some point, you understand how the thumbnails work. You understand what people who might look at your channel would know. Then you also know the like sharing viral side. Like like how to do well. And then it's really, do you want to play that game or do you not? Because, he just said like, he's like, I know what to do. He's like, if I want to do like 100,000 views, I know what to do. And you can see it on his channel. And he's been gone for about 6 months now. And I don't think people have realized. But
wow. Like he hasn't done any videos
yeah.
in the last 6 months?
No.
Did he just get tired of it, or?
I mean, if you don't care, you end up leaving from time to time because it's like, well, I didn't have anything to do. Like what? You can't just keep talking at some point. It gets kind of like, especially if it's not your job. Like this is not how I make. I make a very small amount of money, so it becomes like.
Yeah, that's true.
You just kind of shrug it off like, okay, that was 3 months ago. I didn't really have anything to say though, so I guess I'll say something when it's time. I'm trying now though. I just need to get like it is so like what do you call that? Momentum based. Like if you're not in the flow of like, okay, Saturday I'm going to do this. And you just end up not doing anything, at least for me.
No, I had the same thing a couple of years ago. Like I used to teach streaming tutorials as my main type of content.
Yeah, I remember.
And, I did that like from 2010 to like 2015 or something, or 2013. And they got my channel from like nothing to like 5,000 people, but I just got so bored of talking about it that I just quit for a couple of years. Like I would upload a video every 6 months or once a year. And I switched content types then to starting to get into music production because I just started getting into electronic music. And then eventually like I found a new niche and then eventually just got bored of that. And so, I've been consistent for the past 2 years, like every week and then twice a week.
Sure.
But the way that I got around that was finding multiple content types that would both keep me happy and also keep the people happy. And that's kind of where this type of content came into play. Like I love doing the Facebook ads videos because I'm involved in the Facebook ads every day. But I couldn't do that every video. I would get bored. So this type of content is talking with people and learning about what they do. It's always new, right? Because every person's different. And so I'm guessing that's what you're finding too. Like I saw you've been doing live streams more and more over the past couple months.
Yeah, I felt like, I was starting to like live streams, being that we were kind of in quarantine. Like it became like the new, I guess, because I'm not like a super avid TV watcher. I'm like a movie guy. Like I like to watch a movie like beginning to end. And if I'm not watching movies, I'm usually just going to watch YouTube. And I found that content creators really have a hard time going between like under 10 minutes, like 10 minutes and under, and like a long form video. It's really hard like to do something that's longer. And I personally, the whole time I was kind of going about the channel, I was like, I want to do longer videos. But I realized that can, unless it is very engaging and you do a good job, it gets boring like very quickly. And I don't want to waste people's time or be boring. So I thought, okay, I can keep doing the short videos because, and I even think YouTube sort of saw this because of the whole move to 8 minutes for mid-roll ads. Right. They could see that it's hard to get to like 10 minutes, mainly because once you're doing that, you're padding it. Like, the amount of videos where someone would literally like put like a minute of black at the end to get the like 1001.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. So I'm more like, I'll do live streams because those work. Like I get a lot of, for me, when I'm getting like 100 people into those live streams, like at the same time, I'm always like, dude, like that's a lot of people because I look at channels like Sonic State and they're getting like maybe 100, 150. And I'm like, why are people here for my channel? But I'm just saying like those do well, but that's for a certain audience. Certain people just like the live streams.
Right. And one cool thing about your channel is you kind of have a what seems like a cult following almost, which is, I mean, like, I'm not going to say like Tool or like, you know, a band that has like 100,000 person cult following, but I mean, like to me, you've been one of like my favorite YouTubers in that niche. Cause like, you only put out stuff when it's super high quality. And at least that's what my opinion of it. I'm sure you're your own worst critic with stuff, but
yeah.
There's that. And then also like, I don't know, like I look at your following on like Twitter, and you've gotten a lot of people to follow you on other platforms. It's not like people just go follow you and never interact with you again. They show up video after video after video, even when you wait months on end to put it out. And I think
it's very bizarre.
It is, but it's amazing that you've been able to.
I find it bizarre because I don't like, especially Instagram. Instagram's one of those weird things where I'm just like, I sit around and I'm like, I don't really push this. Like, you know, it's exactly the same as YouTube. I'm like sort of here and I'm sort of off. Twitter, I'm also the same. Like I'm super sporadic. Like sometimes I'll be like, dude, I tweeted like 3 times today, and then I won't go like for like 2 or 3 weeks without tweeting because I'm just like, I'm off. Like I'm off this. But yeah, it's really weird. And like the amount of people that interact is just it's so weird to me because I know this is just a thing. I know that people like, this is a different generation where people like look up to people on YouTube and they kind of, they like want to interact and fan out about it or whatever. But I honestly, I think about it. I'm like, dude, like other than being maybe slightly more known musician than certain people, I'm just a guy sitting in a freaking like, you know, a freaking house in a small corner. Like that's how I feel. So it's weird because there's only a few things I've done where I felt really good about, like that was important. The Jexus thing was super important because I was like, that was like very impactful for many communities that I used to be like a part of. But aside from that, I'm just like, you know, just like a guy. I don't know.
That's how everyone I've talked to has portrayed it too. Like I talked to this rapper. He's got like 300,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, and he makes a living off of streaming revenue. And he's just like, it's never really hit me. I still just feel like a guy that's at home uploading music, and I guess a lot of people like it. But to him, he's kind of like, it doesn't hit him. And sometimes when I think about it too, it's like, even with like 17,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is like small compared to what a lot of big channels, you think like that's a lot of people that decided yes in my content. And for you, it's like 35,000. You kind of forget it in the day to day of just being you. Yeah,
it was, the whole story goes, I remember starting and wanting to get 1,000. I just remember that. I was like literally, I made that the goal because I thought that 1,000, because I'm just being me. Like I'm me with my own version of like self-esteem. And I'm like, I'm worth 1,000. I think I'm worth 1,000. Right. And then after 1,000, I remember just being like, wow, like I can't believe that happened. Right. And I remember I was just having fun with it. And there's no money. It was just fun. And then someday, weirdly, like I feel like a year after that, I hit like 10,000, and I was just like, I don't care. Like none of this matters anymore because like the goal was never to like do it as my job or like do it as my, you know, something where I was like owing people like a video a week. It was just like, you know, especially because you talk about Spotify. I looked the other day. I don't know if you know who Sarah Too Ill is.
Yeah,
she goes on Spotify.
She was on Andrew Wong's channel. a while back.
Yeah. Okay, so like I looked her up on Spotify, right? I could not believe she gets over 900,000 spins, like monthly plays. That is
Wow.
so many.
Yeah,
Like
that's a lot of people.
that is a ton, right? And I looked at her channel and she's like prolific with it, like in terms of like she's making the beats on the YouTube and then she's like putting the beats up. Like I saw she did like maybe 3 or 4 releases like already this year or something, like 10 song like
I'm gonna look
things or
right
whatever.
now.
Yeah, she goes by Sarah the Instrumentalist on Spotify though, something different.
Oh right.
But yeah, I just couldn't believe. I was like 900,000. Like, man, how is that possible?
Yeah, there she is. And 900,000 monthly listeners. So she's she's probably getting, because that's just people. Each one of those people probably listens to a couple songs per month, and she's probably getting like 2 million streams per month, which is essentially enough to like almost live off of by itself.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I'm happy about it. It's just like, it's very rare that you find someone in the YouTube like crossover world, because like I feel like sometimes there's issues with perception, right? Like you can't be like, I don't know. It's like you can't be a teacher and also like a musician, because like then if you were a better musician, you wouldn't be teaching, you know? It's this weird thing. So she's done a good job of, you know, crossing over.
Yeah, and then we got a comment in the chat. Someone asked, how many streams a year is minimum wage? And that's so she's actually making a really good living from that, because 350,000 streams per month is minimum wage, and 1.5 million streams per month is like engineering salary. Like, so she's making a pretty good living off of just Spotify. And for everyone else in the chat, I'm sorry I haven't said hey to you. I am taking questions. I'm just only gonna grab them when they're like relevant to the to whatever we're talking about, so it's not out of place and stuff. Just to let you guys know. But
what's up with everybody in the chat?
Yeah, why don't you introduce yourself so people aren't like, who the heck is this guy?
Oh yeah. So I go by Noir Et Blanc Vie. I have my YouTube channel that is the same name. I am not from France, but the channel was created, inspired on a train between France and London, and that's why the name is what it is. And it's supposed to mean something, but it doesn't, because everyone from France has told me that I'm terrible. So it no longer means anything.
Doesn't it? It means like black and white something, or?
It's supposed to be La Vie en Noir et Blanc. That would be the correct way. But the way that I decided is it's not that necessarily. It was based on the black and white keys, right? So the piano, because that's my main instrument. And so it's just not the same. But, you know, I've been criticized at least twice a year for the last like 3 years. So.
Wow, that's hardcore.
I mean, you know, people just can't let it go. People can't let it go. But yeah, I'm mainly at this point, I'm mainly a YouTube creator and a producer, musician. But I also do like a lot of video work. I enjoy doing video on the side.
Yeah. So is video your main line of work? Like, is that the day job?
Yeah, I worked in video production for, like 10 years, I guess now.
Wow.
Right? Like, I mainly, when I got out of college, I had decided that I wanted to go work in studios, and I worked in studios for a while, realized that is awful. And after that, I realized that like doing like sound and stuff for film and stuff is just a bit more cohesive to like being able to have a good balance. Because when you work in the studio life, you know, it was great. I met so many cool people. I remember I met like DJ Quick, and I met RZA, I met David Banner, and I met all these people that were great. right? But like, I'm just sitting there being like a pleb, like basically doing like their bidding for like, at that point for like $8 an hour and working like 16 hours a day, like drinking coffee. Like it was terrible. And you realize sometimes like, and also I hated music at that point because all I was doing other people's music. I hated music. So eventually I was just like, you know what? The best thing for me is like, I don't love like sound for film as much. So that will allow me to have this good balance where I can go and do my own thing, do music.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem to conflict with like what I have to do to like eat. And that's always been my thing anyway with YouTube is like, I never want to get to the point where like I'm having to do a video to eat because I just don't like the obligation part of it. It kills everything for me like creatively. I think people watch and I don't do sponsorships and it's not really because I'm like, I hate sponsorships. It's because I don't want the obligation. And once you do a sponsorship, there's like deadlines and there's like expectations and I just want to, it's all me. I'll buy it. I'll do a video when I do it.
And that's crazy too. Cause you do videos on like $5,000 synthesizers too. Like, do you get any of that stuff like on loan from them? Like, will they send you copies or? Okay, that's good.
Yeah. It's more like if you get something on loan, they seem to not care so much about getting it back at any certain time. It's all about like, once you take something, I mean, there's a saying, there's no such thing as a free lunch. And that's sort of that's how it works. Like, regardless of what people probably think, if, you know, the company has a guy whose job is to like maximize like the return on the investment. And their investment is, oh, hey, I have this free thing. You want to check it out? So they give it to you or whatever. And they want something. They need the return on investment for their job. It's not just fun and games, right? So if you just get something on loan, it's almost like there's nothing there. It's just like they forget sometimes that you even have it. Like they're like, oh the thing, try to send it back at some point in the future. And I'm just like, okay.
Because I think those loaner copies, they're usually they're treated more like they'll have a couple loan units and they just get bounced between different people. Yeah. Because I'm in the email chains for a few different companies that do that outreach for like synth companies. And they never want to send me well, now I don't really do that kind of video anymore, but it would always be hard to get a unit. But for software, it'd be super easy to get a free copy or something. They just send you the code or whatever. But they never really wanted anything in return other than just like, send us any links you generate using the gear. Yeah. But when like DistroKid, for example, is sponsored 2 of my videos, obviously, you know, they're giving you money to make a video, and they don't they won't say what you can or can't say. I'm sure some sponsorships work like that, but they still want a video to come to them by a certain deadline, and you know, they'll mention like, hey, I'd like it if you brought up these couple services that we just added, because you know, I do music marketing. It's the same thing. I want a return on my investment when I spend $500 marketing a song. Yeah,
exactly. The more people that understand that everything is sort of it's sort of a weird bartering system with all kinds of things in the world of YouTube and stuff, because like, you know, a piece of content doesn't mean anything if it doesn't reach the right people, right? So there's a reason why certain companies look at certain channels with certain sizes and they wonder why I only have 500 subscribers, but I make such good videos. Like, how come they don't? You know, there's this whole system where it's not what you think it is sometimes, because before I got into it, it was very new. And I feel like over time, it's just going to keep going like up and up and up with like the amount of like, I guess, trust, and also like if we're talking monetary stuff that goes into like people like yourself and other creators, where companies, you know, and in the music side of things, it's not as crazy unless you're maybe in like the guitar side, because the guitar and those sides seems to be a lot more like heavy, like money over there, weirdly. But if you talk about like computers, like the PC market and stuff, I mean, those videos, it's like every single video is the manufacturer sending to the people, you know, and there's big money. It's a lot of, you know, they're cranking out videos constantly.
Right.
And I'm sort of happy that hasn't happened on this side. But at the same time, I'm sort of sad because I know there are a lot of creators who want to make a living and they just can't because the music isn't, they're still trying to be old school with their dumb magazines and stuff. So
yeah, I think Bo Beats has done a really good job in the music gear spot of like doing sponsorships, but and handling it right and securing them on a regular basis, because he went full time. I remember it was a couple of years ago when he announced it, like, guys, I'm finally full time, and I just had a kid, or I just had a second kid, or something, and it was kind of, I mean, it's awesome to hear, and I remember him getting flack on social media of people complaining about like, I don't like this sponsorship, and you're just being bought out by these companies, and I've never thought of it like that, and obviously, you know, you don't either because of what you just said, but it's like, you know, you do a video, you're very transparent about it being a sponsorship. It's like, who cares? Like, it enables him to make all that good content.
Yeah. You want the content. He wants to do this so he doesn't have to work another job. Like, it's literally just a trade-off, right? And nothing is free, even though I can say like, oh, you can watch my content for free on YouTube. YouTube is charging you with your time. That's how it works. And that's been everything since the beginning of like ads supported media, right? The beginning of, you know, radio in like the, you know, well, I guess do we count that as the mid 1900s or whatever, when, you know, people are sitting around and it's like, sign up for Camel brand smokes. And the people sitting there. So it's weird that people rail against, ads and I guess sponsorships, because it's literally like ingrained in our society to you're trading your time for this media. That's a trade-off. That's it. I mean, it's weird. I understand that. I don't like sitting through commercials on radio or wherever. I don't. But I know that is the trade-off. I'm trading. And it's fine. I have to understand that. There's
other options too, like on YouTube, if you don't want ads, like I buy YouTube Premium for that reason.
Me too. I've had it for, I don't even know what an ad is on YouTube.
And it's like when people, I haven't had people ever complain about ads on mine, but I'll go on like someone else's channel and they'll have ads every like 10 minutes on like a long video, and see people complain, and I'm like, ads exist on YouTube? I forgot about it. Because I don't know, it's like $6 a month, and you save hours of your life over the course of a year.
Exactly. Yeah, it's funny, people complaining about the thing that so like sometimes I'll go on a computer that I'm not logged in as me, and something will pop over. What is going on here? This service, I cannot believe this. Because the ads. But I'm fine with it. Like, I'm used to it. But yeah, I've had I've had YouTube Premium for like at least like two or more years. Like, I'm fine paying for it. Like, I think it's worth not having the ad. I'll be honest. Yeah, it's only $15 for me. I don't know how you get your $6 freaking one, but I need to find out how.
I thought it was cheap. Well, I don't subscribe to the YouTube Music.
So maybe I need to figure out how to like do this.
Unless I just haven't been paying attention to my bill, and maybe it is $15 now. But either way, it's still worth the cost. I mean, that's what Netflix costs, and I mean it's the same with Spotify. Like, you can watch stuff on Spotify or listen for free, but you're paying with ads every like 5 songs or whatever.
Exactly. And realistically, when you think about the time, like the balance of like 5-second skippable ad. As long as a person doesn't put like mid-rolls or whatever, it's like you're getting usually at least 10 times, you know, you're getting like 100 times, because maybe they'll shoot like a 5-minute video, but you're doing 5 seconds and you skip the ad. It's like, I don't know, people's math.
Well, when you watch TV, you might watch 3 minutes of ads for every to 8 minutes of content, and sometimes it's 1-to-1, like depending on what you're watching, to ads to content. And YouTube, it's, as you said, like 10 times better than that or something, you know?
Yeah. The whole TV thing. I was dating this girl. This was a while ago, and she wanted to watch like America's Got Talent. And I'm sitting there like, are we watching an ad show or are we watching a show? Like I've seen so many Ford F-150 commercials. I'm done. Like,
yeah.
geez.
And it's kind of wasted too. Cause I mean, for me personally, I'm never going to buy a Ford F-150 truck. I'm never going to buy a truck. So it's
those commercials. I'm like, who are you placing that? I'm like,
you're in LA too, right?
For a there's a commercial for a $40,000 truck on you're trying to, how could you even like try to sell that over a commercial?
Yeah. And like, especially if they were advertising it in, I don't know, New Hampshire or Maine or somewhere in the South, it'd be more relevant, right? But for you in LA, I feel like it'd be much more relevant to target like an electric vehicle or like something that resonates with the culture of the place.
Which YouTube can do because they're doing a better job of targeted ads, right?
Right. Yeah. Like I'm sure you get music ads all the time, right? Like music gear ads and software
Arturia ads.
Yeah.
It was Arturia ads before. It was like, dang, Arturia, they don't stop. Like they know how to make commercials. Like it was like Arturia and Waves, like constantly.
Oh yeah, Waves.
Waves. The joke of Waves, right? Where if the plugin you want is not on sale, just wait a day.
Yeah.
It will be.
Well, and every time I recommend plugins, like Waves has some, you know, like for Waves Tune and L1 Ultra Maximizer and stuff like that. Like I tell people like to get their plugins when I'm recommending stuff, and I'm always like, if you can, wait till Black Friday. It'll be like some crazy deal that you'll never find. But even that, like, just wait till the next holiday. Wait till like, I don't know, Independence Day, or wait till Mother's Day, or wait till Father's Day, and it'll be on sale.
I think Waves probably has a big calendar somewhere, and they marked off every holiday for every like sect or religion or ethnic group, and they're just like, okay, like we don't want them to get too close together, so they put like one like every or just like they're like, oh, it's hot outside, Waves hot summer sale, and it's just like, okay.
Believe it or not, that strategy works very well because I sell sample packs and contact libraries through Genera Studios, and anytime I'm like, I want some extra, like I want to get some extra sales. I'm going away for the weekend, get some extra cash. I'll be like, well, it's summer. I'll announce like a summer sale, and I'll give people 50% off, or 30% off, whatever it is, and send it to my email list. And it's a really like common strategy, and not just for things. Like artists use it too. Like they'll have their T-shirts like 10% off, or they'll sell their music 30% off, and it works.
It works. Sales are the only way I buy anything anyway. So I mean, I'm always waiting for the sale. I love Waves stuff, even though people be like, oh, forget, like Waves is so like old and outdated. But I'm just like, you know what? They're kind of like they're like Pro Tools. Where it's like Pro Tools, it's just there, and you remember it. You remember the name, and you know they're not gonna like go out of business. So they're gonna update their plugin. I mean, they still update their dang Renaissance plugins from like 1996. Right. So
get you into that update plan too.
Every time I see that, I'm just like, what am I supposed to do? $120. What does this do?
Yeah, and it's sometimes they get you because you'll upgrade your operating system and it won't like support it anymore, and then you have to go and upgrade it to get from V5 to V6. And it's like, okay, I don't know what happened. You just basically just mandated to me that I have to pay you money, so I guess I'll pay you money.
Yeah. I'm like, what am I doing with this thing? I have like a small amount that I use, but you know what? You get used to things, and I think as like musicians and stuff, I've heard the whole like musicians are very like what's the word? What's the word for like when you're afraid of a black cat? Superstitious. Musicians are very superstitious, right? So it's like, well, that's my vocal chain. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I can't record without my vocal chain, right? So same with like the Waves. It's like, like. I know a lot of compressors, but like my Renaissance compressor, I know it. I know it's going to work.
I've been like that for a long time, and I'll go through these fads of what I use. And right now I'm on a
Yeah.
gain reduction pro, or gain reduction 2 is like what I use on all my vocals no matter what. And
Okay.
before that, it was like this gigantic stack of like 10 waves plugins. And then gain reduction 2 was like a plugin that replaced all of them. And so just drop it in the track, vocals sound great, done. And but yeah,
who makes it?
JST, Joey Sturgis Tones. They're big in the metal world. So it's like mainly like the guy who owns that company is the producer of Asking Alexandria and a few other metal projects.
Okay.
And he makes all these plugins that are essentially just the way he produces those artists in a plugin. So he reduces this giant stack to one thing.
Oh, cool.
And they're great for vocals, and they also have guitar plugins like emulating amps and stuff. And yeah, I swear by that. And it's cheap too. Like they do the same Waves model where like stuff's on sale every other week. You can get that plugin for like 80% off in the right week. But
I mean, it's not a bad way to go when we're talking about digital products, you know. Hopefully, you know, most of the time you make it once and it can be useful. You know, I mean, I watch a lot of video channels or whatever. They just make that LUT once and they just drop it on their, you know, site, and they be selling that LUT like crazy, because there's always going to be a new photographer, just like there's always going to be a new musician, right?
Yeah.
So I've thought, I don't know how I would give any value to that, but
I'm surprised.
I like good vocal chains, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't gone down the sample pack route ever, because like with all your gear, like you could make some dope sample packs. And in fact, like after you made that Jexus video, and I never heard of him before that actually. So when you had that, I went through like researching him and spent like a couple hours doing that. So that was fun. But like after that, I was like, oh man, it would be a sweet idea to get him on a sample pack because everyone wants him.
Yeah.
And so I like emailed him and I was like, would you ever want to do like a sample pack? Like we split it. Like I'll do all the selling and I'll make it so that it's super worth it for you and I'll market it.
Yeah.
And he was like, I just don't want to do that. And I was like, okay, that's cool. But
yeah. And then I think he did it sort of on his own. He tried.
He made
but he did it in the Jexus way. Yeah. In the Jexus way where, you know, very, very private, and like I think it's attached to like PayPal. Like, you know, I've learned so much that people are so different. And when it came to like Jexus, I mean, honestly, I just thought he wasn't going to do the video in general, because, you know, no one knows this person really. Yet he had such a like if my following is like cult-ish, like he legit like has like the cult following. His website is like, it's basically like, you know, I'm not saying it's like Temple OS like type shit, you know, but like, you know, he's got like, I mean,
he was like the OG synth channel, right?
Yeah. Basically. I mean, he is like the OG like synth, like, but the way that he'd make those videos, it's just insane the amount of work. When I saw the sessions that he was making for these videos, like way back with like old archaic software, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I had no idea. And yeah, I mean, he admitted, like he was like, oh yeah, I was like a crazy person, like just like, you know, but his dedication to doing it, I mean, he's brilliant in the way that he does do it. And I'm glad that hopefully he can keep doing it now. But yeah, I actually, it was interesting. I watched some of your videos about screaming because me growing up here in LA, I used to be in like Orange County a lot, where Orange County had a big like I guess it was screamo-esque back in the day. This is a long time ago. So there were bands and stuff, and I always remembered one of the like things that was awesome was like screamers who could also like sing. And like one of my favorite bands, still one of my favorite records ever is Finch's What It Is to Burn. And it's like,
that sounds familiar.
Produced by, who produced it? God, the same guy who produced like He's pretty big. He was a pretty big producer.
I remember this band. I liked their album "Say Hello to Sunshine."
Yeah. See, there you go.
I love that album.
Yeah. Finch was like so big for me because I was like, oh man, he can like sing too, and he would do such a great job. Do you find that like that time is over in terms of the younger generation? Because sometimes I don't know what people are doing nowadays, because it seems like rock and roll, somebody forgot that like rock and roll people still need to be cool. And so they became like dorks. And because of that, like hip hop became like so popular, like hip hop and pop became like so popular. And I was always like, see, the thing is you got to make rock and roll cool again. Like you got to make kids who are like doing rock, like got to make them cool. Yeah. Like, you know,
in the metal world, it's, I mean, I don't know if it's any less common in terms of like people growing up and wanting to be like in a metal or rock project. But you're right, the perspective has changed. It's no longer cool to be that. Like if you do rock music, it's like, okay, boomer, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah, seriously. It's like, what are those strings? Okay.
Yeah, but it's you know, there's a community for it. Like it's still like hundreds of, if you go on a big rock artist, they'll still have millions of monthly listeners on Spotify. Oh, yeah. And I mean, the thing is with metal music in particular, like Periphery is probably one of the hottest metal acts out right now.
Periphery. I would say. Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, at least in that niche of metal, they do the gent/progressive metal thing. And they only have like 120,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. And I don't mean to say only, but when you think about any small hip hop artist, not super small, but like you can look up like any hip hop artist and you'll just pop in like a million follower or a million monthly listener one. And, but these guys are still making a living with it and doing it, but it's a completely different like market, it seems like.
Yeah, I guess I just sort of, especially growing up, seeing that like rock acts, like even, I mean, I guess maybe they don't count, but they are on the edge. Fall Out Boy was like the last, like for me, was the last group who appealed to young people. And also crossed over to this place where it was like, hey, they're also cool people. I would like to be in a group like Fall Out Boy. And then for some reason, it just took a dive. And then every person was just like, it's either hip hop, it's pop, or it's underground. Like there is nothing. And it's just like, all it takes is like, because I keep feeling like it's going to come around again, because it feels like it was so long ago that it was like that, where I was, you know, I was thinking like bands like that were cool. Like, you know, these are dumb bands, but I'm just going to say like bands like All American Rejects and bands like Yellow Card and bands like, gee, I was about to say Nickelback.
Yeah.
Not Nickelback.
They haven't been cool since
like something
their
corporate
first song
or something. Yeah, what am I thinking? You know, like those kind of, where it was like, wow, it's cool. So I keep thinking like, shouldn't it be time for that to come back? And it keeps not coming.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
Yeah, I think some stuff has come back, but it's like in a different scale. It hasn't like overtaken hip hop by any means. Like the kind of 90s rock, I don't know how old you are. Are you also a 90s kid? Or you just...
No, I'm 80s.
Okay. Well, you know, you went through the 90s, so you know anyways. But
yeah.
You know, that kind of like late 90s stuff, like maybe Linkin Park or all those bands around them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that kind of era is starting to kind of come back more and more nowadays, but it's not like it's getting played on several radio stations. It's not like popping as much as it is. That's
the thing. It's literally like, and I don't listen to a ton of radio, but when I look at like what's around and what's happening, it's just it's so interesting. Like you know, take a Tekashi 6ix9ine for all intensive purposes, right? It's just like, what an interesting, like, it's like a Hispanic kid with rainbow hair and the number 69 on his face, straight up. He's the most like popular like hip hop artist like on the planet, and it works because the people around him like know what to do. he gets to release multilingual albums. So he gets to, I mean, that's a huge market, the Spanish market. And I'm like, you know, I like his music because it's fun. To me, it's fun. Like, I just like, it's like, no one's going to remember this in like, well, it's yet to be seen, right? But if history tells us anything, things like this, they're very, very popular, and then they kind of wane.
It's kind of like Soulja Boy.
Staying power.
Remember Soulja Boy?
Yeah. Soulja Boy the same way. It's like Soulja Boy is literally like, this is crazy. Soulja Boy literally like 25 right now, and people are like, oh, he's washed.
Is he really that young?
It's crazy.
Oh snap!
Maybe you can look it up, but I swear, I feel like he's like, I feel like Soulja Boy is like, maybe he's like, he can't be 30 yet.
I remember his big way. Oh my 27. Goodness. He's 1 year older than me, so he's 29.
How old is he?
29.
Okay, he's 29.
Wow,
right?
I didn't. He must have been like a teenager when he.
Yeah. It literally feels like a different planet that we're on, where we're listening to like Crank That, and now, I mean, not just now, but for the past like years, it's been like, oh, Soulja Boy, wash, Soulja Boy. I'm just like, this. What a crazy like internal crisis you must have, where you're like, you know, 26, 27, people telling you you're washed, like that's your whole life.
That must be very depressing for him, actually, thinking about that, because you always want to think about, like, you know, the future and that the best days are yet to come, kind of thing, and that's where I think a kind of slow career growth in anything is kind of always better than a fast career growth in anything. Yeah,
I agree, because at least it prolongs the time to reaching something.
I think it's more.
But and hip hop, it's weird. It's weird. Hip hop is definitely it's barely getting to the point where they're like expressing appreciation for the older generation, and it really only starts. It only starts with like Jay-Z. He's like the only one who people are still like, oh yeah, okay, he's old, but we okay, like we accept that, like but you know, it's not the same. People aren't being like, oh yeah, I want to see Biz Markie, like, unless it's like some throwback, like weird thing, whatever.
You're a big synth guy, obviously. And if I don't have you framed in the shot, but I'll show everyone in the chat and watching the video. He's got a very sexy modular synth behind him. There we go. Now you're back in frame. I just had to slide your Zoom chat over. But what's your story and love journey with synth gear? Because it's like it's essentially entirely what your channel is. It's synths.
Yeah. Well, it was weird. I kind of just started when I was like, I didn't even know why I got into synths, other than that when I was young, there was a group it was the Neptunes. I mean, it doesn't make as much sense now because like the Neptunes aren't what they used to be. They still kind of are, but they're not like, they were so huge at that time, you know? So the Neptunes, basically they were into synths in a way. On one of the covers of their albums, maybe not the cover, but the inside liner art, one of the guys, Chad Hugo, was holding a microKORG.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, whoa, that's cool. Like, I don't know what that is. And then I remember going and being a pianist, right? This kind of weirdly makes sense. I was into like keyboards and like playing keys and pianos and stuff, right? So then he's holding the microKORG, and I think it's like a normal size, right? So I go to the store, the Guitar Center, and the Guitar Center has the microKORG. I'm like, whoa, what the heck? These are mini keys. So I was like, I can't play this crap. So I looked up like what the microKORG like was, and I remember looking at the article, and then it came up that it was part of the MS-2000B. So then I was like, oh, it's the same thing. So then I went and I asked my mom to buy me that for like my birthday or something. Yeah. And that was how I got my first synth and so my hate towards mini keys goes way back, I guess, since people know me that I don't like them, but
I remember seeing when you talked about the what is it, the Arturia Micro Freak that has the flat keys, and you were just like, what the heck, guys? Put real keys in this thing. And I'm not even a keyboard player, and I can play like some songs and write my stuff on keyboard, but like even for me, I would always prefer a full size keys or no keys, because I just plug it into a MIDI controller.
Yeah. That was, and I get it. I get what they were going for. But you know, also my thing was, it was all about like a personal situation with that. I remember like even yesterday, someone was like, he wrote to me saying like, well, this is why Buchla lost the trade war to Moog, because all the people like you were complaining about your precious psychedelic synths. And he's like, see, and this is what conformity is all about. Like, this is conformists, right? And then I just wrote back and I was just like, well, aren't you trying to make me conform to what you want by... So I was just like, this is so weird. Like, everyone has such strong opinions. And for me, honestly, I wanted to get a little synth that was super light that could be part of like my live setup, right? And for it to be that thing, it needed to be, so it was cool because it's polyphonic, the Micro Freak, and it's super small and light. So I was like, this is perfect. It's just like, I can't play that in the dark live and hit the right keys on a consistent basis. So it wasn't even about that I hated the keyboard for being what it was. It was like, my personal situation would have been loving this, but you know.
Yeah. Do you play shows? Well, not now, but before, did you play regular shows?
The thing was, I was going to get into it, and I had been asked to do it a few times. I had done it years before, and I hadn't really gotten into it. But then people started asking, like, they just were like, "Hey, I would like you to like do a thing at this," and it was weird. So I was like, "Okay, if I'm going to do this, I want to bring this synth, and this synth, so it'll work, right?" Which was, I wanted to bring like my Tempest, I wanted to bring my modular, and then I wanted to bring the Micro Freak, right? And so that would allow me to have like, I don't like bringing a lot of big stuff. Before, when I would play with like groups, usually I would bring my SV1 and I bring my Prophet 6, and this goes like years ago. And it's just like, I don't know if most people realize, but it gets kind of like tiring to like bring stuff around gigging. Like, I know that some people like it and it's fun. Like, I like gigging sometimes, but it has to be so like fun for me to be like, oh, I'm gonna bring like a 30-pound synth, like 2 30-pound like synths in cases, and unplug it and set it up, and like, you know. So I just wanted things to be small and compact. If I'm going to do it again, it has to be fun. Like, this is weird, but the whole thing has to be fun. As soon as it's not fun, it's work for me.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. Like, if like, there's some things you got to do just because you got to do them, you know, in life. But as soon as things stop being like, at least, sorry, just something, my computer popped up. At least like, like, they give you personal satisfaction to do them. It's just like, I tend to just lose interest, you know, and then that means that long term, I'm not going to be able to do it. You'll just quit. And I do the same thing, like, even though by day, my career is I'm a mechanical engineer, I get into that because I like it, and I enjoy doing it. When I was working at Starbucks while I was in college, like, I was like, I hate going to work every day. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
But yeah,
people don't sometimes get that, like, it's easy when you're taking in the content to say things about it, because the content is just given to you, and it's really something for you to do, right? Like, this is maybe weird to say, but when it comes to like, YouTube isn't always fun, because YouTube has people watching and those people can talk to you. Sometimes that is like the problem, because all you really want to do is, like, you as a creative, right? You get pleasure out of the creation process, right? And if you put it out there, you're kind of giving of yourself to be like, hey, if you guys enjoy this, you can watch this. And you're just, that's kind of the end of it, right? Partially. So it's weird because I think that everything can weirdly take away from how enjoyable doing things are. And I always wonder about mainstream celebrities. Recently, and I have yet to ask this person, but I recently weirdly realized like Flying Lotus, who I looked up to forever, right? He jumped in my live stream once. This was like a month ago. And I was like, I didn't believe it was him, first off, because that's dumb. Like the Flying Lotus would do anything that has to do with me. So anyway, what we've kind of sparked up like a small friendship, like talk about things via DM or whatever. And I keep wanting to ask, like, what is someone who has like true notability? What is it like being a creator or musician and having like, not just, you or I, tens of thousands of people who have the ability to watch you, but like millions of people? Like, what is it like? Does it like take away from it that like people are going to like say things to you? Like, I just wonder, like, what is like, does Kanye West, does he care? Is he that much of like,
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like it must change something for them in a way. Like whether it makes it less fun or enjoyable, or if I don't know, because like they get all this press about them, right? And like sometimes it's just this BS negative press about like their life or whatever. And they're just like, I'm just a dude trying to release music or make videos or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure it's the same problem for like PewDiePie on YouTube. And
oh geez, how does he even?
Like he just plays video games and puts it online, and he gets so much crap for like, I mean, he live streams probably tens of hours per month. Like a lot. And he says like one offensive comment and he just gets slammed. And he's just like, I'm just a guy playing video games. Like I let I don't remember exactly what it was, but like I let something offensive slip, and then all of a sudden the world is attacking him. I wonder how that feels too, like.
Yeah, I remember because I used to watch PewDiePie a lot more than I do now, but I still would, but I was definitely on a big kick at some point, especially when he was doing like his T-Series thing, when he was trying to get to 100 million subscribers, right? And I realized that every one of us is just like a person. Like we're just people. The only difference is like our mistakes, we sometimes do them on the internet, or our mess ups are public knowledge, right? And I remember when and I'd definitely segue into this real quick. I remember when PewDiePie was getting so much crap before, it's because he said the N-word, right? In a live stream. And he had done this on the back of doing I guess like, I don't want to say Nazi, but it was sort of like a Nazi inspired thing, right?
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, okay, well, him saying that should be incredibly offensive to me. And like, while yes, it was, I also realized that like, he's just a guy. Like, I don't know why we sit here and we have the saying like, nobody's perfect, yet we expect perfection.
Right.
And
it's not like he aired it during like a long, like if he scripted like a short form video and said it, I feel like it would have a much bigger impact than if he says it in a live stream, especially if he's doing something like, I don't know, it's talking about a game and it's something relevant to the game. He might get a little feisty and let something slip. And, that doesn't necessarily mean it's like the best thing in the world, but I think it means something different than if you're scripting something and purposefully putting it in content.
I don't know why. It's just a thing that's come up so much recently that I've just noticed like, and this is the hard part, like creators that I sort of followed and looked up to, almost, maybe this is poor decision making on who I follow, but every single one has had some sort of like a controversy. Like, you may not know these people, but these are like video game channels that I sort of was kind of around. So I remember when the Angry Video Game Nerd was like doing his feature film, and he had like these issues with like the funding, and people felt like he was taking the money and not like correctly like investing it into the movie. And there was this whole controversy around like that and speculation. And so then it was like, okay, well, I guess, you know, people are saying that he's like taking money from them. This is weird. And then, you know, so that's bad. And then I have other people like Pro Jared is a guy that I watched for a long time on the videos. And then like he recently had the whole thing of sending the nudes to like kids or whatever, but then it was found like to not be true, but he made something. And then PewDiePie with the N-word and JonTron saying like other racist things. These are all people who I like modeled my channel like around. And it's so hard because I sit there and say like, well, but these are just people. I don't know how else I'm supposed to like come to a fine place, because like, you know, has my sister lied to me in the past? Sure. I mean, she's a person. That's, you know, no one's perfect. But it's so weird. As soon as you're any sort of a public figure at any like level, yes, there are some terrible things that you can do that probably should send you to jail, right? But I guess if like, I guess, and even at that point, it's kind of the law. It's the justice system that's supposed to take care of it, not like the internet, like police, right? And so it's just weird, you know. It's just weird to have come up in a time where that's sort of what it is. It's like, did you do something bad once?
Right. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna make sure we find it, and then we're gonna like put it everywhere. And I'm sure. I mean, I've definitely done dumb shit, but
at least most of your videos are like pre-planned and you know, edited and stuff. It's not like you're on a live setting all the time.
It is weird because, like you said, it's, and I guess that kind of even goes to like platforms, right? Like all the people who did so well on Vine, right?
Yeah. It's
lost to, I mean, not that I've ever really paid attention to Vine, but I guess it shut down, which means the servers and everything go away too. Yeah. So all of your online success, like we can look at the Jake Pauls and the Logan Pauls and the Gabby Hannas and be like, oh, they're still there, but the chronicle of what they did and, you know, there's so many others that were just not at that level, but they were still huge. Maybe those people just evaporate.
They kind of got lost in time almost. Like they built something cool.
People aren't even going to remember Vine in 10 years because they'll just be like, because those Vine people will now be so old that it won't matter what happened at all, right? So, but then also it's weird because people don't want physical things as much, right? So if you release like, if you release a physical album alongside like your, like say you're like very niche and you're like, you know what, I want to do cassettes and I want to do vinyl, right? Well, you're never going to sell as many cassettes and vinyl as you do digital streams. But just because it's real and like just because it's physical doesn't mean it's more valuable. I mean,
right. I
don't know.
It's kind of at the point where it's not, and for a lot of people it's less valuable because they don't even own a CD player. You know, it's like the value of a CD and a cassette and a vinyl record has turned into a novelty almost. Like I bought the new Tool album that came out. Was it this year or was it last year now? But they came out with a new album after like 12 years of not releasing music. And I bought the hell out of that. The second it was available, I bought that CD. I've never played the CD. I opened it and looked at the artwork and the cool things they included with it. Because their album artwork actually had a built-in LCD screen. And when you opened it, it started playing custom movies that were built just for the thing, like a custom experience, and a little booklet with custom art just for people who bought it. And I never even played the CD. I wanted it because I wanted something from that band. And that's kind of where CDs and cassettes and vinyl, I mean, vinyl's kind of come back as a, you know, for those hipster kids who have record players. Sure. Do you have a record player?
I don't have a record player because I have addictive personality, and you know what happens to people with addictive personalities and record players.
You end up with a $10,000 modular synth collection. That's what happens.
Yes. See, I didn't even want this, and now here I am. I should have pointed that out actually in the video. I did the live stream yesterday where I said like reasons not to go into like Eurorack.
Yeah.
I would say my this is like a reason. I gave 5. So reason honorable mention is it is not always easy to get out of Eurorack. People,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like you go and you're like, I put 5,000 into my Eurorack, right? Because it's so personalized, it's not easy to always like, you know, go liquid on like say you know, shit hits a fan and I like need to like, I need like $3,000, right?
Yeah.
That's going to be real time consuming to get out of like my $5,000 investment, like trying to like piece out the things. And like people are so like, you know, in their head about Eurorack stuff. So
The nice thing is that
I like stuff.
the modules hold
I'm just
their
gonna
value.
say, yeah, it's just hard to piece out. Like sometimes, like if I wanted like I have my sub 37 or something. If I wanted like $1,000 or something, right? Just like, oh, that's easy to let go of, right? Like, you know, and I think like people will say like, well, you keep your instruments forever. And I'm like, dude, as a like creative person, I can't tell you how many times in the past I had to sell like my Nintendo Wii to like make rent, or I had to sell like my Roland Phantom X to like make rent. And eventually you'll get it back, you know, but like you realize like, and that's why a lot of times like I invest in like higher end equipment. It's really about like the value proposition of being like, you might have to give this up at some point, right? And if I just really like bought all like Behringer like $150 synths,
Got some of those right there.
yeah, which I like, right? It's like I'm not gonna get like a sub 37 in a decent economy, right? It holds pretty steady like value wise for some reason, and it's just like I don't know. I grew up having to like let go of pieces just because I had to eat, and so.
Yeah, and I mean that like I bought a Juno 106 like 2 years ago or something. You know, that's literally
how much did that cost?
$1,200, and it was made in 1984. Like, and it was refurbished too. It had like new voice cards, I guess they call them. They're like the actual chips that have the oscillators on them. But like that went up in value. I think that sold for a couple $100 back in the 80s, and you know, I have a bunch of cool things. That's the only vintage one, but I mean, I've gotten like.
Isn't that magical? Do you feel like it's magical when you get like a nice patch on the Juno 106? Because I always say that, like, I after the fact, things that I played that I listened to, I'm like, that was a Juno 106. I'm like, you know what? There's
something to it.
I don't like to be. There's something weird about just how it all plays together. I don't know if you're hearing this weird like nostalgia because it's you playing it and you're hearing it back, but it's just like I just hear it and I'm just like it's right. If there's a word, it's just right.
No, that's how I feel.
I
like
loved it.
There's really nothing that should be special about it. It's just like a square wave, a saw wave, a sub oscillator, and then it's got that weird chorus. And for some reason, the fact that it's 36 years old or whatever, and the combination of parts and the way it was built, it just like nothing else in the world, even the emulations, really capture it. And maybe that's why we're like in this kind of synth nerdery world where like we love getting these analog synths that cost 5 times more than the software you could get. But I feel like they have something to them. Like they're good.
I agree. It was crazy. I bought my Juno 106 and I don't have any more because I got sick of, it's just at some point there's too many that I had. But the Juno 106, I bought for $450 in 2000, and the only reason I think I got it for that much was because it was after the recession, Great Recession. So I think I bought the Juno in 2011, probably like 2011 or something. Yeah. So people were like I mean, I remember being at the guy's house and I had the choice between like the JX8P and the Juno 106. And he was like 400 for the JX8P or 450 for the Juno 106. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know. And here's the worst thing. I resold the Juno 106. I think I maybe resold it for $500.
Oh man.
I think I made a little bit on it.
I think they're worth $1,500 now on like Reverb.
Yeah, easy. Yeah. I sold a lot of like synths back then. Like I sold my JX3P, even my sequential multi-track, like something I really like. I sold so many like pieces, because it wasn't hot, Now, once the micro, what was that? The Micro Brute, that was the start. Yeah, once Arturia did the Micro Brute, it was the start of sub $500 synths and people getting into stuff again. Even like the Prophet 08 wasn't like a big like, oh wow, we have like 8 voice polyphonic, because it cost like $3,000, so no one cared. But it was like once Arturia did the Micro Brute, and that's why I never gonna shit on Arturia. They did a lot of good.
I had the Mini Brute 2S, and it was like a good synth. I never used it, so it was the only synth I ever sold in my life, which was, but I was never using it. But it like worked. It did its job, and it sounded good. Yeah. But I love their software a lot.
Yes.
Their emulation software is very fun at the very least, and sounds very good at the best. So
that's a good like way to describe it. I think that they've definitely hit. It's enjoyable to use it. A DST. Yeah. Which ones do you use?
I have the bundle. And so I kind of just open up whatever one I'm feeling at the moment. Like if I'm like, oh, I need keys, maybe I'll open up the DX7 and get like a key patch to get that vintage sound.
Sure.
Or if I want like a but like a vintage analog synth, I'll open up the Jupiter emulation. Or the modular one is so detailed that I can't even bring myself to make a custom patch. I just use presets on like the big like Moog original modular series. But it sounds so fat. It's like insane.
That like the V bundle or something?
Yeah. The Arturia, it's like Arturia V6 or V7. I forget which one that I have.
Okay.
But
isn't that like, how much is that? Like $300 or something?
Yeah, it's just like all the Wave stuff. It goes on sale every Black Friday for a good price. And
I'll be honest. I only do videos on like hardware, and the only reason I do hardware is because hardware isn't going to go anywhere. And so I will always have like reoccurring people, because, people buy old things and people buy, it's always this like cycle of like having to look up something versus like software where people don't, it's not going to last as long sometimes. Yeah. I know some of the things I used to love, like Orange Vocoder. I love the Orange Vocoder. They don't have the Orange Vocoder anymore on software.
Never even heard of it. So.
Yeah, it's like, it was a great vocoder, but they don't make it anymore, and that sucks. You have to have a computer that has like 10.2 Mac OS X to even like have that anymore. So, but anyway, the point is, I would totally make way more faster music if I just use like the Arturia like V collection or something, because it's so immediate and it's all in there. Like MIDI inside of software.
It's game changing.
So much faster.
Like I have all this I'll turn my camera, but like I got a relatively good collection of synths and stuff, and then there's another wall over there of it, and I still find myself using Serum for like 90% of what I do, just because I make mostly like future bass, so like you kind of need a crazy wavetable synth to do that stuff anyways.
Sure. Which they're not making hardware, which sucks. That would be I still just love I don't have it, but I love the Access viruses. I just wish someone would go all in.
They could make a true software version of that, because like it's just digital. Like they could 100% emulate it and make a plugin. And I have the B, I think, the Virus B, and it's fantastic. Like it's really really good. And
Did you get that a long time ago?
no, that bought that 2 years ago or something. Maybe last year. So I got it used.
How much?
I don't even remember.
They still hold their value, like a lot of those for.
I think like 700 from memory, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Like the TI, I still see just regularly. Like you can't get like a TI for like under 12 or something.
Yeah, it's weird that they never like kept making their synths. I mean, yeah, their synths. Like they went completely down the guitar world. Well, not guitar world, but the what is it called? The Kemper amp profiler business. And
yeah, which
it's a damn good like guitar emulator, but like
sure.
I don't know. It's maybe there's just more money to be had in the guitar world than the synth world.
I mean, it's weird because I feel like, you know, maybe it's just the same thing, right? Like he's gonna leave and stop doing the Kemper profiler at some point, and people are gonna be like, it's the same way as like the virus, where it's like, well, when they're gone, they're gone. You know, this great thing came. It did this amazing like thing for some period of time. It's not like super temperamental. You know, it's not. It's software basically inside of a box. So it's not like a Juno 106 where like, you know, next day you might have 5 voices and then a week later you got 4 voices and then you got 5 voices again.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, he doesn't have a ton of products either. Like the virus was like, he just kind of incremental upgrades. He didn't do like a huge like path like of like we have like 80 different ones.
Like Arturia or something where they got like the Matrix, the Micro, the Mini, the etc. kind of thing.
He's like, we make one big one, one medium one, and one small one. They're all the same thing. And the Kemper profiler, it's like he has the big one, and he has like the other one. And I don't know. I wanted to ask him so bad, but I couldn't.
Was he at NAMM this year?
He was at NAMM. I'm looking at him at NAMM, and I keep thinking, this will be the perfect update video where I ask him myself. And I realized after watching enough like interviews with him where people asked, I said, he doesn't want to freaking hear this, man. And I don't want to be that guy. Yeah. You know, so.
And I felt that way that was the first NAMM I ever went to this year. And, man, like I saw so many people who I've either like admired or like knew about or wanted to ask something. But I'm just thinking like, man, they probably get these questions all the time. They don't want to be bothered by some stranger. Like, 'cause it's kind of that weird thing. Like they're just a person like living their life, going around and talking gear. And the only person I bothered in a weird kind of like fangirly way was Andrew Wong. Because I saw him and I was like, I love your channel. You're going to be if you're down, can you be my one selfie from this whole NAMM experience? And he very awkwardly said yes.
But he gets that all the time. He's like the only person I realize is like, oh, that's like a celebrity. Like I have actually, of all YouTubers, I've hung out with Andrew Huang more than anybody, right? We went to like this dope jazz show.
Oh, really? I know you and him and like what Mylar Melodies and Simon the Magpie, someone took that selfie.
Yeah.
But I didn't know you guys like hung out outside of that.
Oh yeah, no. Me and Andrew hung out. He was here for like a month. So we hung out maybe like 3 or 4 times like after that, you know? And last time when he was here, the previous year, whatever. But you know, I mean, I remember walking with him the first year, so I was used to it. So not this year, but last year when I met him, we walked for maybe like a half hour, just, you know, first time I met him. So we're just like hanging out, walking. Every like 5 minutes, somebody would come up and be like, "Oh my God, it's you!" And you do like, you know, like the clap with them. People wanted that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was like constantly, right? So I was like, "Oh my gosh."
Does he love it, or does he dislike it?
I think it's just natural at this point. Like he's so passionate about it. We have so many conversations. Like he's so good at YouTube. It's not even funny like anymore. Yeah. He's so good at it. Even the video he posted the other day where he did like the thawing of the ice on the microphone and stuff. Like he's just, and I can admire that. Good YouTubers, people sometimes like talk crap on like, oh, he's a YouTuber or whatever. But when you're a good YouTuber, it is like very evident that like, wow, you really know how to keep an audience's attention.
Yeah.
And I still struggle to understand how that's done and the art of that. That is a very, that's a different art in general.
Yeah. It's hard to, like for the last couple of years, the biggest thing that I've focused on was getting my audience. I don't know how big you are into YouTube analytics, but like I'm obsessive with data, like obsessive. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, okay, I got to get my average retention rate of a video to greater than 50% and get at least 40% of people to the end screens. And that's been my goal. And it wasn't until like 2-3 months ago or something that I started hitting that video after video after video.
Wow.
With the exception of these like hour-long ones, of course. But
sure, of course.
For like a 15-20 minute video, I'll be getting like 50-60% audience retention.
Wow.
But still,
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's hard, and sometimes I don't even know why I do it, and I don't know why I fail. But it came down to I took like you ever heard of video creators on YouTube?
That's like the channel.
Yeah, the Tim Schmoyer hosts it.
Yeah.
I took their like course on
how
to like grow your YouTube channel, basically, like a couple like beginning of the year, something February, March.
Sure.
And it came down to like focusing on story and hooks, basically. Like you want to hook someone with a thumbnail so that they stop scrolling, so that gets them to read the title. They should read the title, and that should get them to click. So you're kind of telling a story, like curiosity piquing, tell a story with the title, then answer the first part of that story within the first 5 seconds so that they're willing to watch all the way to the end to find out what happens. And it's very hard to plan, especially when you're doing like tutorial-based content like I do. And I would think that you're like, what is it called? That series where you look at synths that are like vanished. What's that called again?
Oh yeah, like Great Synth Mysteries. Those always do better.
But those must have a really good audience retention, I think, because they're telling this big story.
They definitely have a better an audience retention, and also an impact. I get more messages about those, and I feel like I realize like. Remember, there's probably these sayings all the times in like the filmmaking community where it's like, it's the story, right? And you'd be like, well, but what about my 8K camera? Like, they just keep preaching like it's the story. And I realize, yes, it absolutely is. It's just so hard sometimes to do. It's like make this non-story like object into, a tale. How do you do that? Where I always found, and I want to make this video, but I know I can't make it because I don't want my channel to become like destroyed. But I wanted to make this video called Video Game Reviews Are Easy. Right?
Oh boy. That's a controversial
then that's why it's never going to happen. It is never going to happen. But I think of this all the time because I think of like, if you're trying to make a synthesizer, right? It doesn't have a plot. It doesn't have movement. It just sits there. Whereas video games, it's almost engaging to just watch your friend play a video game, right? That's half the battle. It's just the action and the movement. And if you could just review a video game by saying the plot of the video game that's already given to you with gameplay footage, and then at the end say like, is all right. That's easy to me. You want me to like? I'm not.
I think that's why that kind of type of content became so common on YouTube. Like back in the day, like it was a point where that became YouTube, and there's channels that do it very creatively, like Game Theory. will come up with their own story, unique from the one, and they'll tell this crazy narrative that's different from the game, and that is like, I would say, art. But then the games that are just like talking about the story that already happened and giving commentary, like I'm not going to say that that's not valid, but it's not, they're not telling a story. They're getting a lift in their content from the fact that the game already has a great story. People are just watching that story play out.
which is like I've been watching some of the like Last of Us 2 stuff, and it's just like, it's weird because I'm just like, well, but the story is already so like, people are already upset about this. All you have to do is just play into how people want, and I just like,
man, I loved that game. I beat it last week and I enjoyed the hell out of it, but it's getting so much hate online.
It seems compelling to me. It seems like I know that people are saying like, and I hate, this is one thing I hate. It's when people do the whole like, I'm the greatest video game writer ever as a reviewer and never as a developer of video games, and saying like, oh, how could you do this with Abby? Like, it was so low hanging fruit for you to do. I'm like, dude, go write your own video game story. And then, you know what I'm saying? Like, it is not just, somehow everyone has Shawshank Redemption. Just, it was up their sleeve the whole time. They have the easiest, I wrote the greatest film ever, yet they never do. But yeah, all I'm going to say is video game reviews have so many elements that are just very, to me, to be, I'm not saying anymore. Somehow someone's going to find this. I'm going to get destroyed.
I mean, like,
video game reviewing is impossible.
I keep my live streams unlisted after they go off, and then I edit the video interview portion separately. So I have the artistic liberty to cut or repeat parts.
It's not even. I feel like I'm not saying bad things. I'm just saying like logical things. I could just watch a video game play on mute, and it's entertaining to me. Like literally.
No, it is.
So.
I mean, I used to watch video game things too, but you're right that like for what you do in your channel, like telling a story around a piece of music gear, that's what, the first time I watched your channel, that's what I loved about your channel. Like you combine like great like video quality, video production with telling a story around an inanimate object that's music gear. And it's like, it's just weird. Like, I don't think anyone else does that really.
Not even me anymore.
Not even you. You gotta, I mean, like, I know your videos must be a lot of work, because like some of your videos even have sets, like your Halloween special one year.
Oh gosh,
and you're doing like a spooky voice and like the crazy lighting and cobwebs around your room, and I mean, I think your channel is a good example of quality over quantity.
Which I find is bad. I realized that my channel, because I looked at your channel actually on Social Blade, because I stalked you. No, I looked at it on Social Blade because I was looking at a bunch of other things on Social Blade, and I was like, oh wow, like doing a lot of views. Like, I don't know if it was more recently, but I just saw doing well over like 100,000 views.
It's like, I
for
think
like the last 30 days or something. 115,000
per 30 days or something.
Which is, I mean, I don't know if you probably pay a lot more attention to that, but I was just like, oh wow, like that's great. Because I could see you've been growing for sure, like over 1,000 new subs in the last 30 days or something. I've been super pumped about like this year covering the more like music business stuff. Like every month it's been like 1,500 new people, whereas before it was like 200 or less new people per month. And isn't it crazy? I love the analytics stuff because it's so interesting to see how you can do things and what things change. So I looked because I was like, okay, he's changed not just his scene or his backdrop and the video quality. You changed like your topics and you were doing a bunch of things. I just was wanting to look and be like, oh, I wonder how that's impacted. And I was like, dang, he's like killing me. Like my channel like has been, my channel is weirdly steady, but it's not like before. There was a time where I would hit like 2,000 a month or something, like month after month after month.
Yeah, yeah.
And now it's like, you know, I always do like 600 or something. But you get way more views than me, so per month.
I think that's where and I tell a lot of people in my audience, like when they're asking about, for example, music, like how often should I put out music videos, whatever. And I tell them like the threshold for putting something out, it shouldn't be like, is this perfect? It should be, is this good enough to do well? And are you happy with it? Yeah. Balanced with, can I put out a new song every 6 weeks? Because that's what I tell people to do. Put a new release out every 6 weeks, whether that's a single, an EP, or an album. And I've noticed it's the same with YouTube. It's better to put out, you know, twice a week, for example, and have it be 90% as good as it could be, than put out once a week and have it be 100% quality. Yeah. No,
I can see it happening even for me now. So you make perfect sense, which I like, because I'm a person I sat around on that Felix the House Cat video for about 5 months. I had that done, except for like the specific like edits I had to do so it wouldn't get like copyright struck, which it got. So it's fine. But
I hate that stuff, man. The copyright.
How else was I supposed to like? I'm not trying to take away from it. I just wanted to put 10 seconds of each song in the video. I couldn't do anything. That algorithm, that content ID thing is so good at this point. You can't pitch it. It grabs it. It knows. It sucks. I hate it.
Yeah. I do every Monday. I do a music review Monday where I let people in my audience and Patreon like send me music to listen to, or like a 2 or 3 hour live stream. And every week I get like 5 copyright flags for copy content ID claims, and it's just like. I wish there was a easier way for those artists to like specifically opt out when it made sense, because it's kind of a black box. Like some other company handles it. It's not like the artist handling it. So it's
which is so annoying. You're just sitting there you're hating it because you're just it's like, I'm not trying to do what you think I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to upload like I'm not trying to upload freaking I don't know,
like a movie or
in its full.
You're literally operating under fair use. It's just YouTube doesn't care about fair use. Like YouTube is just like, it's there, not allowed. But fair use says you can use, is it 15 seconds or 10-second clips at a time for purpose of review or enhancing the original work. Yeah. Which is exactly what you're doing.
Which is crazy, because I always think of like an Anthony Fantano who does like Needle Drop or whatever. I'm always constantly like, wouldn't it just be so much more enhanced if he didn't just, if he could put the music in the video like at all, but he just can't, and it sucks. Because like, how do you review something that needs context and the context is illegal?
Yeah,
literally.
No, I get it, and it doesn't apply the same for games and movies either. Like the law does, it's the same, but for the YouTube purpose, it's not. And I think it's mostly just the music industry is so stingy. Like they're like, we don't get paid enough. We need to fight for every penny we get, and they do that to their own punishment, because I don't content ID any of my music. I'm like, you want to use it in a video, and just like send people to my link. That's all I really want. I don't want to content flag you. And you put out an album with YouTube Music, right? Last year?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you have a royalty-free...
Like 2 or 3.
Yeah, and I would love to do a royalty-free YouTube Music album. Like that's great. And I wish...
Your wallet would love to do it as well, let me just tell you.
Oh, they pay you for it? Oh, snap.
Oh, yeah. And it's Google, so... we can talk offline maybe about that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it now.
Okay.
But I'm just going to say that.
Well, that's dope.
If you ever see that email, it's not fake. It's a real email.
I'll have to search my buried emails and see if. That actually gives a cool point, and we've been talking for a while, so maybe we'll go offline in a sec. But I feel like I'll be sad if I don't ask you this. But so you have a day job, but you also make money from music. Like kind of what percentages over your different like revenue streams for music are allocated to what? Like you obviously have the YouTube, you have music, and you've mentioned a couple of the things you do along the way. So if you could break through that, I know my audience would love to hear it.
So yeah, I mean, as a person who's worked in media production for the last, it's been over 10, man, it's been a long time. I would say, first off, all my living income comes from working in media production. And that's where also I got my chops, I guess, for YouTube, was from doing that. I made like a small portion of income in the past doing production for artists. So there's records out that I've done that have been, back in the day, MTV would do a ton of music placements for smaller artists with a lot of their shows. And I thought it was a great thing. Maybe they don't do it as much, but Real World, Road Rules, an album like I produced was on like the Real World Jersey Shore, like season finale.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Called Little Red Radio. So transition to now, still same as before. I still make 100% of my livable income doing media production, and that's on either working with the audio side of it or the video side of it, right? And then also I probably made from YouTube last year. From music last year, straight up, overall, I probably made about probably like $15,000 last year from music.
Okay.
From YouTube, I probably made about, I'm trying to remember my tax return exactly. From YouTube, like, so this is AdSense and alone, since I didn't do any live streams last year, so I didn't have like super chats. I don't have membership. So this is straight AdSense. Last year, I probably made around $4,000.
Okay. So that's still
Something
a nice
like that.
that's still a nice amount,
$4,000.
considering that's not even like your living income, as you call it. It's like all that extra like 20K is essentially just on top of whatever your regular income is. That's like
no, I save a lot of money.
That's good. Yeah.
I mean, I bought my car because of like side stuff. Like I just bought my car cash because I was just like, I didn't have a car for quite a while, and I didn't really need it. But now that like we have to get around without public transportation like we used to, I went and got a car, and I was able to buy that. Like straight up. So, I think that's about right. Yeah. I don't remember my tax return exactly. I made more money on YouTube the year before though, because I was going way harder. Last year I probably put like 5 videos out the whole 2019. Yeah. It was just I just barely did anything. Right. But the year before that was where my channel had tons of growth. So I probably made more that year. So maybe I made like 5,000 the year before off of everything, and then maybe this year I made like between 3 and 4, something like that. Nice.
That's cool. Because I get a lot of questions from people are wondering like how, like, they're in the point where they're working for someone, whatever they're doing, and they're kind of thinking about how to set up their income streams so that they can like try to make some money from their music, either so that they can invest into marketing it, or maybe eventually going full time, living off just their music. And so I always like to get that perspective, because for me it's like there's music, there's I'm a curator on SubmitHub, so that's one aspect. There's YouTube, of course, and then I have a company that sells sample packs. I have a marketing course, and I do like video consultations, and Everyone's different. I've learned every single music person in
Yeah.
the world, completely different strategy for diversifying their income. So yeah,
Let's ask Andrew Huang how he diversifies his income, or we can just go on Social Blade and realize that it's a lot.
he must do very well from YouTube because he's got like 1.5 million subscribers or something. And
I looked on Social Blade, and I always think it's really just pick the middle. That's what I just say of like the estimated or whatever. But then that was so high that I was just like, all right, forget it. Like it was like, I think the middle, like I just looked and it was like, I think it was like 15K a month or something.
Oh, wow.
You know,
that's a lot. That's a lot.
I don't know. Maybe you can look at it right now. Not that I'm pocket watching Andrew Huang. It's just, for myself, I'd probably make around like this time of year, like $250 a month, right? From YouTube. Right. And definitely that's way less than, that's not a lot, but around the holidays.
He has a D- in Social Blade. Why does he have a D- in Social Blade?
What? No way.
I mean, like his stats are all great, but they gave him a D-. Maybe it's because he's in the music category.
Really?
Because for me, I think I'm a B-.
He has a D-?
I don't know why they. But anyways, it says he estimated 216 to 3,500. So yeah, like if you assume the middle, 1,500-ish. So that's awesome for him. I mean, he deserves it. He's got a gigantic channel that's like very unique.
That's a lot of money a year, just straight off of like what would be AdSense. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't even imagine that.
And he's in a cool position
he's clean.
Where he can do videos. Like he can take 3 months off from doing videos, and his audience doesn't care. Like they're just like, cool, go take some time for yourself. We'll be right here waiting. And
he doesn't even have a schedule.
I know, yeah.
Like he's like whenever, like that lets you know like it's good. Like even for me, like I know that like the stupid videos I do now, it's like who cares? Like I'm doing these videos because I want to do them. But it's like when I decide like I'd like to do a 1-minute synth review, it'll do what they do, which is for me I'm like okay if it does like I don't even like to do the numbers, but I'm just saying if it does like 15,000, I feel good about it. If it does 15,000 within like a smaller period of time, I'm like, okay, that's normal for a 1-minute synth review or whatever.
Yeah.
But you get pigeonholed. You eventually just have to do, it sucks that you have to do the same things, but people like restaurants, the restaurant doesn't make money from changing the menu. It's the one thing that they just keep on there and people keep going for that one thing. So
that's why, and that would be my biggest advice to anyone watching or listening to this is like, if you're gonna get into the YouTube game as part of like your content, like don't let yourself do one thing, because like that was me with the screaming tutorials, and it's not that I didn't like doing them, but I'm trying to get myself in a position where I don't just have to talk about one thing. I can talk about like a selection of things, and that keeps me interested in. And it sounds like you're kind of in that, trying to get out of that just one thing guy thing. Like
I have like literally 3 things that for sure I know work on the channel. It's 1-minute synth reviews, it's great synth mysteries, and it's synth versus synth. If I just look at how it is, those videos all do exactly the same type of numbers, and they all have the greatest like engagement, right? Everything else I do doesn't matter. Yet I hate to say, I don't want to do synth versus synth, 1-minute synth reviews, and all 3 of those take the most time. Yeah. So it kind of sucks.
And they're kind of like, they're not the same thing, but they're in the same category of things. Like they're
and I would much rather, if I could, I really want to get back into the real world not the real world, but the world minus this pandemic, because I so wanted to do this series. It was called Synth on the Street, and I had it all planned out. It was where I would take the synths out and, had like the permits and everything to like have normal people on the street, like just use them. And I thought it was going to be a fun, like kind of man on the street kind of a thing where you get totally like new users like, oh, I like it or I don't. And it's a good like measurement of a person who's brand new to something, would they like it or not, right?
Right.
And but I can't do it unless I did it now. And if I did it now, I 100% would get dragged for it being irresponsible. So
oh yeah. And
I cannot.
People would be like, they're touching your synth and you're bringing it home,
Yeah.
and probably best to wait.
Yeah, which sucks because I was like, dude, that was going to be 2020. It was like Synth on the Street is coming.
Yeah.
I was just ready to do it, and like I had the synths like all like, I have like a few like that I got just for it, like some modal sculpts and stuff. But
damn, dude.
whatever.
So we've been talking for an hour and 50 minutes. And
Oh, wow.
It only feels like it's been a bit. So I'm gonna end this stream because I wanna ask you a couple things offline.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks everyone who's been hanging out for this whole time. Hope you enjoy the
Of
somewhat
course.
interesting discussion. This is not like my normal content, talking about like synths and fun and YouTube, but I hope you found this interesting. But yeah, see everyone. Thanks for watching. And go follow, do you say it Noir Et Blanc Vie or just Noir Blanc Vie?
Noir Et Blanc Vie.
Okay, cool. I've always wanted to say Noir Et Blanc Vie, but that's because I'm not French.
Yeah, sort of.
But go check out his YouTube channel. It's one of my faves. So